In 1604, after a century-long civil war, the legendary shogun Ieyasu Tokugawa accomplished the seemingly impossible task of uniting a country on the brink of perpetual conflict. This unification promised a new era of peace for the roughly 20 million inhabitants of Japan's numerous islands. While peace was largely achieved, it nearly left 500,000 samurai unemployed, as their livelihood relied on the nation's insatiable appetite for war. As their homeland embraced peace, these warriors had to adapt, with some becoming merchants, bureaucrats, or scholars. However, not all could accept a life away from the battlefield, leading them to engage in criminal activities resembling their pre-unification behavior. Their actions transformed them from revered warriors to feared enemies of the people. Unbeknownst to these ex-samurai, their actions would give rise to a group that would ultimately evolve into modern Japan's powerful crime syndicates. These syndicates became so influential that they delved into national politics, amassed vast fortunes, and even contributed to Japan's involvement in World War II. This is the origin and early history of the Yakuza. When picturing modern Yakuza members, one might envision expensive suits, gold chains, and intricate tattoos adorning their bodies. Interestingly, over 400 years ago, similar flashy fashion choices were present among a group closely tied to the Japanese mafia's history. These unemployed samurai, or ronin, formed groups known as Haramoto-yakko, or bannermen, and were referred to as kabukimono, or crazy ones. The nickname stemmed from their adoption of an outlaw lifestyle, wielding incredibly long swords and donning vibrant clothing, which was considered immodest at the time, especially for samurai. Surprisingly, they were occasionally seen wearing women's clothing, as kimonos weren't that much different from women's dresses. Besides eccentric attire, violence and intimidation are traits that are often associated with the Yakuza. The kabukimono were no exception, as demonstrated by the gruesome practice of tsuchigiri, or crossroad killings, where innocent passerbys might be decapitated to test a samurai's blade sharpness. This brutality made the formation of resistance groups more understandable. Kabukimono also engaged in theft and other criminal activities, leaving Japan's citizens weary of violence after enduring a long civil war. Enter the machi-yakko, or servants of the town, who sought to protect common people from the crazy ones. Comprised primarily of peasants, farmers, and merchants, with some ex-samurai ashamed of their former comrades' behavior, these groups relied on short swords or farming tools for defense. Machi-yakko became popular protectors of the people, and modern Yakuza claimed lineage from them, rather than from the kabukimono. The truth likely lies between the violent kabukimono and the chivalrous machi-yakko, as Yakuza exhibit traits of both. However, a direct connection to either group remains unclear, as both were eradicated by the government by the century's end. As legends and stories of the now obsolete Yakuza groups continued to spread throughout Japan into the 17th century, the nation soon witnessed the emergence of two new groups that would ultimately evolve into the contemporary Japanese crime syndicates we recognize today. These groups, known as tekiya, or peddlers, and bakuto, or gamblers, arose in the mid-18th century, and their connection to modern Yakuza became increasingly evident. Today, Yakuza engages in various enterprises such as drug trafficking and prostitution, with market stalls and gambling remaining essential components of their income generation. The significance of gambling in Yakuza's history is evident when examining the origin of their name. In the 16th century, Japan, Hanafuda cards gained immense popularity, leading to the development of numerous games, including one resembling blackjack. Players receive 3 cards, and the last digits of their combined value determines the winner. A terrible hand consisting of 8, 9, and 3, totaling 20, meant a score of 0. In Japanese, 893 is pronounced Yakuza, and Yakuza gambling groups adopted this term to describe something worthless. Over time, the word became widely used to label criminals, as society deemed outcasts and gangsters useless. The Yakuza's similarities with tekiya and bakuto groups extended beyond money-making methods. Both groups exhibited a high degree of organization absent in the Yakko groups. Rival gamblers and peddlers adhered to designated areas controlled by their respective factions, reducing distractions like fights and conflicts, ultimately benefiting all parties. Another parallel with the modern Yakuza relies in the background of tekiya and bakuto members, impoverished, homeless, and lawless individuals who failed to fit in Japan's highly structured society found refuge within these groups, making recruitment a breeze. Regarding recruitment hierarchy, who exactly provided these outcasts with a home and a sense of family? The term family isn't mere exaggeration on my part. It's the most precise way to describe the structure and relationship within Yakuza gangs for over 250 years, known as obayun and kobun. Obayun and kobun can be interpreted as father and child roles, respectively. When recruiting a new member, the boss, obayun, assumes the father role, offering the lower-ranked kobun work, protection, and guidance. A ritual where both obayun and kobun share sake formalizes this relationship, a ceremony many may recognize from movies or video games. This type of bond persists throughout Japan, and sometimes under different names like senpai-kohai in families, workspaces, and criminal organizations, all of which require loyalty, respect, and hierarchy to function effectively. This structure played a significant role in Yakuza's early success and power. Uniting a group of troublemakers can quickly become chaotic unless they are giving something valuable, something to lose, and something they had previously lacked, a sense of belonging and a family willing to fight and die for each other. Without such a well-organized system, the Yakuza's survival for as long as they have is definitely doubtful. A century passed, but the Yakuza remained. The mid-1800s brought significant changes for Japan. In 1633, the shogunate government, led by Tokugawa Iemitsu, implemented a foreign policy called sakoku, which restricted travel and trade. This policy aimed to protect national safety and stability from foreign influence and religion, as Christianity introduced by the Portuguese rapidly gained popularity. By the early 19th century, sakoku's restrictions began to ease, allowing foreign knowledge and trade to enter Japan. When the US confidently arrived in Yokohama Bay in 1853, demanding Japan opens its borders, sakoku's end was imminent. As foreign visitors and influences entered Japan, the country transformed into a global superpower under Emperor Meiji's Meiji Restoration, shedding feudalism and adopting a military, political parties, and parliament. The Yakuza had to adapt to these changes, diversifying their operations. Gambling remained their primary revenue source, and the street markets persisted, but construction work and bustling docks were added to their revenue streams. The Yakuza also explored legitimate businesses as a cover for illicit activities, gaining political connections and embracing bribery to forge ties with influential police and government officials. They recognized that cooperation with these figures was crucial for long-term success and growth, as they needed to avoid scrutiny in their illegal ventures. The Yakuza offered two valuable assets in exchange for this freedom: manpower and a knack for physical violence, perfect for suppressing labor unrest, which the Japanese government needed. Thus, gambling, bribery, and strike breaking became synonymous with Japanese crime syndicates and remained integral to their operations well into modern times. As the 20th century dawned upon the land of the rising sun, the Yakuza, with their established government connections, were ready to dive deeper into politics. Be sure to join us next time as we discover the impact of a man named Mitsuru Toyama, ultra-nationalism, and the intriguingly named Dark Ocean Society on foreign affairs.